So, over to Cassidy.
Thank you, and hello, the planting? Doesn't sound really grammatically correct, but let's go with that. Hello, the planting. Hello? Yep, you can hear me. Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. If you can't, then nothing else is going to work today. So, as I said, I'm Cassidy, and just before we get started, I think it's important that we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we're meeting today, the Gobi Gobi and Waka Waka peoples, and to pay respect to their elders past and present, and to recognise that these have always been lands of learning and teaching and respect for nature. Thank you. So, as I said, I'm Cassidy. I am a PhD candidate at Griffith University studying green infrastructure and urban entomology. In my spare time, I am a massive nerd for Lord of the Rings. Ask me Lord of the Rings questions, and if I can't answer, I can refer you to someone who can. Big fan of the Brisbane Lions, specifically the women's team, and I often spend my time outside of doing research going around and doing a bit of STEM outreach at high schools, especially through Wondrous Science, which is a program out of UQ. So I got my way to where I am now as through an honours project looking at flying fox nesting boxes and nesting boxes for other arboreal mammals. Unfortunately, I finished just as COVID restrictions were lifting, and the supervisor that I was going to go on to there, she was having like 7 international PhD candidates come in. So I had to make a choice to pivot into something else, and I chose bugs. Specifically, bugs in the context of green infrastructure. So, can anyone tell me what green infrastructure might mean? No, no one's mic'd up, or... Yes?
Is it like
Plants that are involved with buildings, yes. So basically anywhere where there has been infrastructure built, a building, retaining wall, even just parklands in the city, in an urban environment, in the bush, that's all green infrastructure. So, for example, if you've got an old mine, soil's all contaminated, you have to remediate that site somehow, right? So you can put a whole bunch of clay, soil, dirt, stuff, and trees on top of it, and that will slowly help to fix that soil. I am specifically focused on urban applications and more specifically, green roofs. So rooftop gardens, mainly. These are some of the gardens that I've been looking at throughout my research. I'm partnered with a group making apartments in Brisbane that have a lot of green roofs on their buildings. And they've been kindly letting me sample some of them. So, we'll get a bit more to that in a second, but does anyone know what a bug is? Yes? Up the back? Loud voices? Well, when we get the microphone to you. An insect? Yes, that is a great definition of a bug. Yeah. Anyone else got any other ideas of what a bug might be?
It's a subset of insects, and they're kind of like cockroaches and gnats and stuff.
Yeah. So a subsection of insects. Yeah. So bug as we know it, yeah, there's a scientific definition, but it's a slang term. It's very malleable. I've got a little diagram here. So there's the really, really super strict definition where bug only means subfamily Heteroptera, of order Hemiptera, of class Insecta, of phylum Arthropoda, but it can mean just any hemipterans or true bugs, any insects, or even just any arthropods in general, like crabs, spiders, scorpions, whatever. I call that the Pokemon definition. So I will be using bug in a very loosey-goosey Pokemon definition today. We will be talking about some spiders, so you have been warned if you're arachnophobic. So, bugs can get pretty specialized. They've been around for a long, long time, and I will be going through some of the interesting bugs I've encountered in my studies thus far. So I'll be talking about specifically ones I've seen on green roofs, some that do lots of stuff with color and mimicry and different survival strategies like that, how different insects and bugs alter their mouth parts for different uses, how different bugs alter their wings for different things to get different advantages, and finally we're going to do a bit more of a deep dive into hymenopterans, or the bees, wasps, and ants. So I've tried to get examples for all of these things that you could see in your backyard, so you may very well know some of the bugs here. So to start off with, I'm going to talk a bit about green roofs. So one of the major reservations people have about green roofs is that they don't like bugs. Bugs are annoying. Cockroaches keep crawling over my foot. Ants got all in my cheese. Yeah, so big part of understanding why bugs are necessary is education. And through that, bugs can help us with a whole bunch of different things. You've been hearing all about this all weekend, and you will for the rest of the weekend, I'm sure. But in terms of what they can do for green roofs, I have divided them up into 4 major, little categories. So we've got the pollinators, bees, flies, all sorts of things that pollinate flowers, make them really pretty, that sort of thing. Nutrient cyclers, so we've got a lot of our leaf litter invertebrates, like beetles, slugs, other sorts of ants, that sort of thing, that help to catalyze the breakdown of dead leaves and help them reintegrate into the soil and get sucked up into the plants and make them grow really well. All that carbon cycle sort of thing. Food. Bugs are actually quite tasty to many species out there. Helps to bring things to your ecosystem. If you have a lot of bugs, especially birds, which is where I represented with a little bird icon, and pest control. So, spiders. We all know they eat bugs, right? That's good. So, keeping a good, diverse ecosystem can actually help to cut down or reduce the numbers of the pest species you're so worried about. Stuff like mosquitoes, stuff like cockroaches, stuff like even some sorts of ants. And there is a lot of studies actually coming out of places like Taipei, places like Singapore, all those areas that deal with a lot of mosquito-borne illnesses, that conventional roofs that don't have any greenery on them, have a lot more mosquitoes on them than green roofs. And we're not sure why that is, but we're pretty sure it's a combination of those predators eating those mosquitoes and their larvae, and the lack of standing water sources. Because if you've got soil there to soak up all the water, you're not going to have standing water for the mosquitoes to start breeding and producing larvae and all that horrible stuff. So, just moving on to specific examples. This is where we're going to get a bit up close and personal. So, this is what is called a Gepagig diplura. It is a specific type of diplura called a Gepagid. And it's called that because it has these two pincer-like cerci on the back of its abdomen. It's not even really a true bug. It's not even a true insect. It's a very, what we call basal group of hexapods that broke away from insects very early. And as such, they don't have wings. They're just running around looking like the cross between a centipede and an earwig. And one of the roofs that I was surveying with my partners at the property group, there was just this one roof where every time I sampled it, these would pop up. No other roofs where it happened, but these just kept coming up in my sampling. That's kind of weird, because rooftop, ground roof. Huh. How did they get there? And so it's one of the mysteries about green roofs and invertebrate populations that we're still trying to solve. Because, if they got up there through, the soil or the plants, why aren't they on any of the other roofs with that soil and that plants? If they crawled up the sides, why aren't they in any of the other nearby green roofs? Why are they on this roof in such high numbers that I keep catching them? But yes, they are weird looking. Another one found on a roof. This is a really cool one. This is called a lychee stink bug. I saw it on a little glass door on one of the roofs, and it actually changes quite a bit throughout its lifespan. So do we all know how insect metamorphosis works? Yeah? Okay, so there are some insects that go through a semi-metamorphosis, or they are holometamorphous, but they just don't change that much throughout their life. So, like crabs, insects will shed their shell as they get older and bigger. Some insects don't change as much, and they just slightly grow bigger, and then they pop out as an adult with wings. But this one is one of those sorts, and it goes through dramatic changes across its lifespan. So that little picture on the right is the one that I saw, and it is I'm not sure which shedding it is, but it's not the final one. The final one is what you can actually see on the left picture there. So quite a dramatic difference. So these lychee stink bugs are pretty common sight in cities. You'll find them up and down the East Coast. They were a big problem in Sydney a couple of years ago, about 2018, where they were just everywhere. But yeah, I think they're pretty neat looking. So, just about an hour ago, when I was definitely not making this last minute, truth. So, opening up my laptop, doing a bit of tippy-tappy away, trying to get some finishing touches on it. This guy hops up to me onto my laptop and says, "Hey, I want to be in your presentation too." He introduced himself. His name's Benjamin. He was very nice. He's a bush cricket, an Astroflugus debari. And so if you look at that little picture on the left there, you might be able to see, you might not, but it has a pair of black dots in its eyes, so one in each eye. And the thing is, whatever direction you're looking at it from, it will always have those black dots on the bit facing nearest you. Because they're not actually dots. They are like this structural abnormality where it reflects green every direction except this one little direction looking at you. So consequently, they look like pupils of your eyes. It's got sort of a Mona Lisa effect, if you're familiar with that, where her eyes follow you around the room. It can see like any direction it wants, but it looks like it's following you. A lot of these ones, a lot of stick insects will also, just when they're standing there, just do it a little swaying motion just to keep camouflaged when you're a bug that doesn't want to be eaten by a bird. Helps to have some sort of natural movement to make you look like a leaf. So moving on to a bit of colour and mimicry. Does anyone know what aposematism is? Yeah? So it's when animals are poisonous and they really want to advertise, hey, don't eat me, you'll have a bad time. They sometimes manage to evolve these bright colours to really stand out. And that is exactly the case with the hibiscus harlequin bug. I think you can tell why they called it that. It does live in hibiscus plants, yeah. Also, it is coloured like red and black, like a harlequin. But it is a stink bug. It is a stink bug that is brightly coloured. The thing about that, though, is there are a couple of others that aren't poisonous who employ this same strategy. So, the common crow butterfly is pretty noxious to eat. And you can see it all around, like here, Brisbane. I took this picture outside one of the apartment blocks I was surveying on a little hedge. It is a really, really common insect in and around Brisbane. But it's got impersonators. It has, for example, this one, which forget the name of, but as you can see, they look fairly similar, but they are in fact different. And this sort of like, hey, don't eat me, you'll have a bad time, please trust me, please, please don't eat me, I'm definitely poisonous, is what we call Batesian mimicry. So we're gonna throw out a few names to you. Another sort of mimicry we talk about is aggressive mimicry. So, ant or a spider? Is this an ant or is this a spider? Ants wouldn't know the answer to that question. But it is in fact a spider. It's a very successful ant mimic spider. I was just sitting at a desk one day and it started going along. Insects just find me sometime, I guess. They're all fame hounds or whatever. So, yeah. Insects, well, bugs like this spider, will use their ant-like body shape to creep in to ant nests and ant mounds and whatever, and play a little game of Among Us with the other ants. And then the ants find the dead ant that has been eaten and they say, oh no, there's an intruder. Unfortunately, this spider has already made its way out. Can also be less Among Us and more Elves and the Shoemaker. Can also just stick around there. Hey, I'll stick around. You stick around. We can work together. Hey, hey. Yeah. I mean, you don't know I'm the intruder, but I can help out. I can sweep the floors, or, I mean, just don't leave me a bowl of milk and we're good. So, anyone deal with mealybugs? Yeah, they're pretty bad for veggie patches, right? So, the thing is, this isn't a mealybug. This is a mealybug destroyer. And if that isn't the most metal name we've heard all day, I don't know. I want you to tell me what that other metal name is. I really want to know. Please tell me after the show. Basically, it is this it is another one of those aggressive mimics. It basically hides as a mealybug, which looks a little like that. So, bottom right, we've got the mealybug destroyer larvae, the larval form of the adult mealybug, and we have of the adult mealybug destroyer. Yes. And we have the adult form of the original mealybug on the top right. Looking quite similar, right? Got all that like cotton wool coming out of its back. Yeah, so it will use these to sneak up among all the mealybugs and just eat them. They are quite a bit bigger, but mealybugs aren't that smart. So, taking a look at some mouth parts, one of the main ways we tell the difference between different types of insect is their mouth parts. Because although they are pretty similar basically, they've got some pretty interesting structural specializations. Similar to how, if you've ever seen those diagrams where a human hand is like compared to a bat's wing, and it's just got all its fingers really long, and a whale's fin, and all that sort of stuff. Similar structures, different specializations. So, we've got this is a little picture from Melbourne Museum, and it is a really great illustration of this concept, where we've got each of the same mouth part pieces as the same color, but we show how they have been specialized over time. So, first up, we have everyone's favorite, flies. I'm hoping that GIF is working. Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so Diptera, suborder Brachycera, or flies, they have this like, sort of like extra limb where they spread out this like spongy pad and pump digestive juices out onto whatever it's touching. And then, once it's partially digested some of the food it's on, it will suck all that back up. Sounds pretty horrifying, right? Pretty yuck, yeah. So it's that sponging motion that the fly is doing on the pizza, that is how it's eating. Yeah. But taking a look at another suborder of Diptera, we've got mosquitoes. Mosquitoes and flies are actually quite closely related, but they have specialized their mouth parts very, very differently. So mosquitoes, they have extended their little sponging limb really, really far, and it's made up of 6 different little tubules that will pierce your skin and allow various liquid exchange back and forth at the same time. Sounds pretty bad, yeah. Allows for a lot of fluid exchange, which is the worst thing you can hear in this context, until we get a few slides from now. So, we also have true bugs. True bugs have these like needle-like mouth parts, a bit like the mosquito, but completely different. So completely different. And they have this like piercing, like needle-like, really blunt compared to the mosquito. But as in the case of this fish killer bug, it will like pierce in and just drink the juices of whatever it's pierced. Anyone want to take a hot guess what the fish killer bug eats? Yeah, fish. Yeah, they get pretty big too. There is and tadpoles. Yes, there is a bit of the bubble sidewalk texture for size comparison, so they can get pretty darn big. Yeah, so another cool one. This is a spider, a jumping spider. It is it's actually a big group of spiders. It's the most diverse group of spiders that we know of. It's called Salticidae. And they are tiny, they are so small. There is my hand there for comparison. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's about the size of a baby's pinky nail up close. And one of the ways we distinguish arachnids, like spiders, from other insects, well, they're not really insects, but one of the ways we distinguish them is they have these mouth parts called chelicera. And so they have these like, I guess, sort of limbs that have little fangs on the end of them, and they have venom, obviously, but like they have a very distinctive mouth, and depending on the angle of them, you can also tell a lot about which species it is. It's very cool. So jumping spiders actually have quite a bit going for them. They have a really interesting form of sexual dimorphism. So anyone seen those pictures of birds where the male is really bright and the female is really like grey, and the male is jumping around doing like a little dance, a little mating dance? These spiders do that exact same thing, basically. So this little lady was wandering around looking for someone to love. Couldn't find anyone. No one to dance for her. That's so sad. But if you do manage to see them, it's really quite something. The males will go up to her and they'll go like, it's the weirdest haka I've ever seen. So moving on from mouth parts, who wants to hear about wings? Yeah, some wings? There's some things we don't have, so that's interesting. So, as I said, Griffith University PhD candidate. I've actually been getting down to the Gold Coast a bit. I'm usually based up at Nathan. Doing a bit of teaching, showing some undergrads, like, this is a bug, this is a different bug. That is a cane toad. This is mosquito larvae. And I've been seeing a lot of really interesting, new to me insects, such as this wandering percher dragonfly. And so it also has a bit of sexual dimorphism going on. This one is a male because it is a bit more brownish, bit more red. The females are usually bright yellow. So they've gone the other way compared to the birds. And with insects, we've basically figured out that somewhere back in their family history, all insects at one point possessed 4 wings. So 2 pairs, one on each side. Wait, 1 fore wings and 1 hind wing pair, right? And dragonflies, they actually still do have 4. And this makes them really, really good flyers. They have developed over time in such a way that they are able to scoot along the lake or the water really fast, change direction really well. But unfortunately, they're not the best. None of them is the best because they're all filling their own respective niche. This one is another one I've actually encountered on my time with green roofs, but I'm putting it here because I want to talk about its wings. So this is a large green long-legged fly, and it looks like a mosquito, but it isn't. So it just looks like a mosquito. It is what it says on the tin. It's large, it's green, it's long-legged, and it's a fly. And flies in general they have completely ditched their hind wings. They have put all their skill points into maneuverability and transformed those hind wings into these little bulbs you can see in that left picture more clearly, called halteres. These really, really help with stopping from a slow start or just going to dodge that rolled up newspaper or fly swat. Yeah, so we have that to thank for them all in our homes, dodging everything. That water came out faster than it should have. That is all right. So, who has some of these in your home? Cockroaches. Yeah, so cockroaches and a fair amount of other insects have gone a more defensive route with their wings. Their forewings are hardened into these leathery covers called tegmina. Found in cockroaches, mantises, grasshoppers, stick insects, loads more. And now note that the entire wing is leathery. Another cool example is the lady beetle, not the ladybird, not the ladybug, but call it whatever you want. I'm not here to police you. So beetles have really, they've all right, we're going defensive, guys. Let's just really harden up our forewings until they're a shell. Anyone got any ideas for names? Minecraft Steve, you look like you have a good name. I know, we'll call them elytra, after that item in Minecraft, that's the wings. Or it might have been the other way around, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So yeah, this is a yellow-shouldered lady beetle. It was just out in the garden one day. Despite the common image of lady beetles, they are not all red with black spots or black with red spots. This one has yellow shoulder pads. Looking good. And when they unfold their wings, they actually do unfold them. It's pretty cool. So, looking at lepidopterans, moths, butterflies, all that thing, they are the OG pixel artists. So, lepidopterans, they're named that because their wings are actually covered in scales. Tiny, tiny scales that are one of the only places you can see blue naturally occurring in nature. I mean, there is a kingfisher over there mocking me, but let's look past that. But this isn't a blue pigment. This is a structural blue. This is their scales are shaped in such a way that it only reflects blue waveforms of light, rather than just a pigment naturally reflecting only blue. So I actually am going quite long. So we're going to get into the wonderful world of Hymenoptera with the alien from Aliens. Yeah. Sorry to tell you this, but that whole reproductive cycle of the alien from Alien, based on a real thing. Yeah. Wasps bees and wasps, their stingers, they evolved from an ovipositor that they would use, and some retain this ability, that they would use to implant embryos in caterpillars. And, I think I have a picture of that, even I'm not that brave. I get so squeamish looking at that stuff. It's all like caterpillars crawling around with like silk cocoons on their back. No, I'm scary stuff. Scarier even than that thing that Sigourney Weaver had to face all those years ago. So looking more local, we have a whole bunch of native bees in Australia. Apis mellifera is not a native bee. They're our regular garden variety honeybees. This might be old hat to some of you, but I thought I'd go through it for the beginners. We've got stuff like Tetragonella carbonaria there, which is our native stingless bees. They produce these really beautiful, like, flattened screw-shaped hives made up of little round cells. We have Amygdala, or one of the blue-banded bee species. Thyreus, Exonura, Xylocopa. What's the next line to the song? Okay, I can't do that joke. Never mind, I forgot the actual next line I was going to say. Bronzapis, Ceratina, Austroplevia, and of course, your favorite and mine, bumblebees in Bombus. And these are all like genus level, so this is quite specific. But I think just a single specific example for them, or maybe two. The teddy bear bee. If that isn't the cutest name for a bee you've ever heard, I'd like to hear about the metal name you had for the mealybug destroyer, and then this one. But it is basically a solitary bee. So you don't hear much about solitary bees. A lot of people just go in to focus on the hive bees, the eusocial bees. But these are covered in fur, hence the name teddy bear bees. But they have this like little spoon-shaped scoop in their hind legs where they carry nectar. They're also buzz pollinators, which is a very specific type of pollination that Apis mellifera introduced to Eurasian honeybees. They can't do it at all. So these teddy bear bees and other native bees can do this as well, but they will latch onto a flower, just beat their wings and go bzzz, and just unlock all the pollen there, get it on them, and then fly away. So they're actually quite important for many of our native plants, which have evolved alongside these bees for tens of thousands of years. So pretty important that we keep these around as well. Yes, also 90% of bees are asocial, so they're not hive dwellers. You also don't really hear about ground nesting bees, such as the Lagioglossum bisingulatum. Try saying that after 3 pints. I can't even say it after none. But they are ground nesters. 75% of bees are ground nesters. It's all to do with big Apis mellifera just hoarding all the attention towards bees and making everyone think that they are the only bees. These are also really important to protect, and they are actually something that has been found on Green Roof Study is that they are actually a lot more able to establish themselves on green roofs compared to on the ground. Now, I'm not really sure why this is either. There's been some speculation that they just get up there first and start making houses before their usual predators would. But in conclusion, looks like I've timed this perfectly, bugs, whole bunch of diverse bodies, shapes, strategies for survival. We've got so many things that we can learn from them, that we need to protect them to safeguard our ecosystems, keep them nice and diverse and resilient. Some of the little recommended things I'm going to throw in here. We heard it last talk, but iNaturalist is fantastic. It's a little like repository for a whole bunch of animal sightings around Australia and beyond. In particular, the app Seek by iNaturalist, really good for identification. I mean, don't trust it 100%. I've seen it call an ant a type of leptospermum before, but who knows? It's good for inspiration. Also, the water bug book. I actually use this a lot when I'm teaching, especially when we go on trips to the local ponds. One of the books that I am really fond of is the Field Guide to Insects in Australia by Paul Zaborowski and Ross Story. And you should also, if you're interested in this and other bugs and citizen science, check out the Australian Citizen Scientist Association. And we're going to finish right on time. Any questions? We're just coming around with the microphone. Yep.
Next time you do this, you need to add more moth stuff.
No, you're right. You're right. Unfortunately, I don't like going out after dark. It's scary when moths are mostly active. But I will put in some more moth stuff next time just for you.
You showed a picture of a moth with the blue things and crazy patterns. What species of moth was that?
So, I have no idea what one this is.
Damn.
I just pulled up a picture of a butterfly, actually. Lepidoptera contains both moths and butterflies. So they both have the scales. Yeah, moths, when you swat them and your hand gets all dusty, that's all the scales coming off. But no, unfortunately, I don't know what butterfly this is. It just gave a really cool look at the blue scales.
Is it Australian or you don't know?
I had no idea, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Did I hear you correctly say that spiders are not insects?
Yeah, spiders are not insects. So they are arthropods, which insects also are. So we've got spiders and insects, and they both descend from the arthropod group, but they aren't technically insects.
So insects just have the 6 legs, is that?
Yeah, so insects, evolutionarily, there's like some debate, and all these are fuzzy categories, but insects, we being the scientific community, generally say insects, you've got to have 4 wings somewhere back in your family, and you've got to have 6 legs.
On your left, Cassidy, great presentation, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you hazard a guess, these amazing green roofs, a lot of studies in the global south, so in Africa, say that each degree cooling in a classroom increases output or learning, and it's been trialled a lot. Can you hazard a guess? Would it be the same result in cooling if you had a green roof on a classroom?
It's certainly possible. I can't make any definitive answer one way or another, but one of the main reasons we want green roofs is to introduce a lot of that evapotranspiration or cooling back into cities, where the urban heat island effect, as I'm sure you're aware, has a massive effect just without all the plants around that used to be here. There can be a difference of up to 2 degrees compared to outside the city. Pretty significant when you sum it all up, but I can't say specifically whether that would translate to better education or anything. If you're saying it would, it'd be nice, certainly. Yeah, and green roofs do have a sizable impact on insulation. They will dramatically reduce power bills of buildings they're built on. Yeah. Oh. My favorite bug is those jumping spiders, the ones that do the dance, just because that's so cool. I love that. Yeah, all good? All right, thank you so much, everyone. It's been great being here.
Thank you so much, Cassidy. That was absolutely fascinating. I took some notes for my 12-year-old grandson who's got an ant farm and is a scientist and inventor.